Do you know what the highest indicator of sexual abuse amongst children is? What the number one factor is?
No.
The number one factor for sexual abuse amongst young children, minors, is the presence of a step parent. It's the number one factor or indicator of the sexual abuse of a child. There is no other demographic of household where sexual abuse is more prevalent than there is in a household with the presence of a step parent. So what am I saying right now? Is when a sister gets divorced and she has 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, and a couple of them are girls, she exposes her daughters to almost 100 times the risk of sexual abuse by marrying a strange man than if she simply gave the kids to the father, for example, and then married again, or stayed single, whichever. But let's say we want her to get married again. Fine, she gets married again. Give the daughters away. The highest indicator of sexual abuse amongst children is the presence of a step parent. That's the first thing. So now you, as a man coming into this situation, you've got the odds stacked against you, my friend. Second thing, as a man, you're going to marry a divorcee sister who has children. Okay? You are now in competition for her time with her children, whom you have no biological relation to.
Okay.
And the biological relationship is important because you have more rahmah and patience for your own kids than you do for another man's kids. So now you are in direct competition with those children for her time. That's the second drawback of marrying a divorcee. Fadl.
Okay, so we've gone. So let me just, because I don't want to get too far in front. So we've gone.
A question here. Let me just answer. Are you, Mahdi? Are you qualified to talk about all these studies? So that stat that I just quoted you, you can find it in The Boy Crisis by Dr. Will Farrell. And I love that people like to approach this from a position of disqualification as opposed to qualification, because people don't care about studies. You guys, you don't care about the studies, and that's why I'm reluctant to quote them. Because when I do, this is what I hear. Yes,
but you just quoted a study there about the children are more likely to be abused by the stepfather than if it was a natural father. But I mean, I'm struggling to find a correlation between, bruv. Are these studies done? I mean, is that done with Muslims? Because I mean, I'm gonna have to believe now that Muslims are gonna. Brother, I'm only speaking for the difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim stepfather. Is that the Muslim stepfather should have a religion and a set of rules and guidelines and beliefs that he follows that will steer him away from paedophilia and noncing a child. I'm really, really hoping that that's the case for Muslim men.
Isa, you're right. He should do. But guess what? Right. There's imams from masjid who go to prostitutes.
But you're talking about anonymous.
Yeah, BJ. That imam from the masjid, and me and you, we both know what masjid I'm talking about. Let's not go there with naming. But he knows that he should stay away from that. And yet he still did it. If you want to go anecdotal experience, in my extended family, not my family, and I'm not going to give details because I don't want to disclose too many details, the niece was sexually abused by her uncle for 6 years. 6 years. Not even a step parent, by her mahram uncle. You telling me he shouldn't have known better? Now, I know that's anecdotal, but my point is this.
But he also wasn't married. If that's the uncle, then he had access to that child through family ties, not through marriage, isn't it?
Right. So that's the uncle who is, that's his blood. It's haram for him to marry her. Which my point is, it's less likely for an uncle to have a physical attraction to a niece than it is for a stepfather to have physical attraction for a girl who he has no relationship to once she hits puberty. Which one's more likely to happen?
I mean, for that, for me to put my mind in the position of a paedophile or a position of person, I can't mentally go there, bro. So I can't answer that. For me, it's disgusting and despicable.
It doesn't. My question is, which one is more likely to happen? The one who is his niece, his blood and flesh, or the one who has no relationship to this child whatsoever?
My honest answer to that is I don't know. I'm not just.
Respectfully, Aisha, you're being disingenuous. We both know that the answer is
the one
who has no flesh and blood tie to the child. So moving on to the next point.
No, because you just put words into my I'm being disingenuous. I genuinely don't know. I mean, it's a possibility that the stepfather could be more attracted to the child than the uncle, but that's not a world that I live in, bro. That doesn't run through my mind.
That's fine. Okay. Yes. Next question.
Okay,
Or the next
so
one.
sorry. We were still on this topic about the women being less capable of having successful relationships, the more unsuccessful relationships they've had prior to that.
Correct. Pair
Okay,
bonding.
pair bonding. As okay, I like saying things like that. Okay, pair bonding. So I don't know whether those studies are specific to Muslims or they include Muslims. So that to me, I'm not sure about. But I mean, I would have to say on that case there, they would have to be judged individually. I mean, each woman and each man has to take that particular woman and that particular situation individually and look at it. I'm not necessarily recommending to marry them, but I'm not necessarily recommending don't marry them. I would treat them the same as anybody else. And there's certain, there's certain languages here that we're using that's falling on the ears of the people, and I can only imagine how it's hurting the feelings of the women. When the women are hearing things like you're less likely, men are rolling the dice if they want to marry a divorced woman. I think I've heard you say that before. That doesn't land well. It doesn't help them, bro. It's not productive. And then you have young Muslim men hearing this, and it's not the way that we talk about rolling the dice when you marry a woman. When you marry a woman Islamically, you do your research as best as possible, and you put your trust in Allah, and then you try and make that marriage work.
And
I don't see how it's rolling the dice.
How's that been working out for the Muslim community, for the Muslim men? How's that been working out?
Well, I imagine it's working out better than it is for non-Muslims. The problem here is practicing of religion more than anything else.
Divorce is a pandemic. It's not a Muslim issue. It's not a non-Muslim issue. It's a human issue. It's a global issue. Because
so how are you helping it by using rhetoric like that?
Firstly and foremostly, I don't care about feelings. Anyone who watches me knows this. I pass on the message. I don't care about the feelings.
And this is a certainty of youth again, bro.
Secondly, I will say this. And let's not bring this down to ad hominems and moralizing. Okay, so let's try and keep this on an intellectual level.
But when you're talking about you don't care about feelings, that is a moral thing.
Secondly is this. It doesn't matter what. Okay, do you agree with my position on divorcees or not?
No, definitely not.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand what. No.
So
I don't agree with your position on divorcees.
Excellent. And in 45 minutes, we've had an intimate discussion. You still don't agree with my position on divorcees. What does that tell you? That no matter what people like me say, there will always be brothers willing to run the risk of burning their hand so that the rest of us don't have to.
Right, okay, bruv. And this is the rhetoric and this is the words that I don't like. Run the risk and burning their hands. Muslim women are listening to this as divorcees and they're hearing this, and that's not helping their emotional state. It's disrespectful to them. And it's not fair on them, and they're my women that you're hurting. They're unprotected over them. Not only that, young Muslim men are listening to this, and they're talking about rolling the dice and taking the chance and burning their hands. It's not helpful, brother. You know what I mean? It's just damaging the men's mentality of a woman, and it's damaging the woman's self-esteem and confidence. We don't have to talk about it like that.
You used an important word. You used protective. You said I feel protective.
I am very protective over all women, but Muslim women specifically. But all women generally.
And I think this discussion of divorcees, it triggers some type of masculine protective response in a man. When we're talking about divorcee sisters, we think of the damsel in distress. And it triggers this innate need that all of us men have to want to protect her, to reach out to her, to give her that protection and so on and so forth, which is absolutely fine. But you see, the problem is, Akhi, a lot of these divorcees get off scot-free without being interrogated as to why their divorces ended so sourly in the first place. And this is very important. Now, to the sisters watching, to the divorcee sisters watching, I'm going to put out a small olive branch, and that is this. I know there are some of you who are genuine exceptions to the rule. I know you are. I know you were in a marriage where you were genuinely oppressed and your husband was genuinely a bad person to you, and you're a good woman. And I accept that. And I'm talking to you directly. I know you exist and I know you're out there. Sadly, most divorcee sisters think that's them when it's not. When it's absolutely not. And the problem with this rhetoric of coming to the defense and aid of divorcees is that it allows them to get off scot-free for their bad behavior. They are not held accountable for their bad behavior. I'll give you an example. A sister says to me, "Oh, but brother, my husband hit me." I say, okay, fine, he hit you. He shouldn't have hit you. But what did you do, sister, to cause him to hit you? What did you do? Why do I say that? Did you marry a psychopath? Did you marry Jack the Ripper? Did you marry some type of serial killer? Or did you marry an average dude who you thought was a good brother? He's mashallah, alhamdulillah. And then one day he struck you and he doesn't have a track record for hitting either. My question to you, sister, is what did you do? It's time we held you all accountable, because you've been getting off scot-free lately without being held accountable for bad behavior.